What's up?
What's
What's
up?
up? How you doing? How you doing? Kenya,
I'm
MJ.
good. How you doing,
Kenya,
Barry Raleigh? Barry Raleigh. I like putting a southern draw. Barry
Barala,
Raleigh. Barry
Barala.
Raleigh.
Giving us
Happy
that country
Sunday.
Denver, that Denver country.
That's what that is.
It's a Denver country.
That's what that
No.
is. Welcome everybody. We're back to Spiritual Shift Sunday. And if you are in the room live, say hello to us. If you are watching the in the future, then you can still say hello in the comments. We are back. We are doing our spiritual shift every Sunday except for the last Sunday of each month. So we will not be back next Sunday. We take a break. The fourth Sunday, take a break. But we'll be back
Gotta let
again the
it
top of
breathe. Gotta let it breathe.
gotta let it breathe. And if you are new here, if you are watching on my channel, Kenya MJ Music, and you are not a subscriber, make sure you click subscribe and click the bell to be notified so that every time we come on here, you'll get a notification. If you're already a subscriber, yay, welcome back. And also be sure to like and share this video. Or hop on over if you are not a subscriber to Spiritual Shift 33, which is on Barry's name, has his that's the tag, the social media tag or the YouTube tag handle for Spiritual Shift, because we do have a Spiritual Shift YouTube. So that's all our logistics. Make sure you subscribe over there as well. Click the bell, like, share, watch some other videos. Some more videos will be coming up there. But we have been talking all month about our theme for the month has been the God concept. And so we've been
God
exploring
concept.
questions. Yeah, to tell them what does that even mean, the God concept, Barry?
Yeah, so it's the concept of God. It's how you think about God, how you feel about God, how you view God, how you see God, how you understand this concept of God. Is God in the sky? Is God a man? Is he God? Does he have a beard? Is he a white guy? Is he a black guy? Is he Asian
Is God
with
a
a big
woman?
belly? Is
Is
God a
God a woman?
woman? Is God a
Right.
yes?
And
All
so
those things.
so all month we've been asking questions. And so next month we'll have a new theme around spirituality. Not necessarily, it might not, we already tackled a lot around God. So next month we're going to explore something else, but that's still central to our spirituality, our soul, and us maybe shifting, considering other perspectives. Again, this here is not church. This is not to teach you about God. This is to have conversations around things that sometimes we don't have the spaces to talk about. And so we love this space. We talk about this stuff all the time. And so at the end of we're usually here like 40 minutes. When we get to the end, I'll talk about how you can join a community that we're growing so we can have more conversations like this, not only on YouTube, but in other spaces. So I usually ask Barry the goods. He chimes in on his thoughts, his perspectives. I might chime in a little bit, but I'm the questionnaire. I'm the Vanna White. I'm the Vanna White. Anything else before we get into the, because today we're doing how does God speak to us?
Is it a cell phone call? Is he calling you up? Is he texting? Is God texting
Oh,
you?
texting.
No, that's
Possibly.
not actually what we're not actually going to talk about.
We're not, no.
No.
But we are going to explore this whole idea of
How does God
how
communicate?
how's God communicating with us in what ways. So,
Yeah, yeah.
Barry, did you want to add
Before
anything
you,
before we get in? Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
I want to just give a quick. This is a really good topic. It's a really good topic because um, we have a lot of information about this process, even if you don't think that we do. For example, in the Bible, we have um, lots of communication between the deity, the God figure, down to like a group of people, the nation of Israel. In the Garden of Eden, you have the God concept talking directly to this man and this woman, kicking them out, actually, talking to them about, hey, this is your garden. And so we don't really get a sense of like, is God like, is he like, do they hear his voice, hear her voice? And even in, so this is continued in popular culture. Like one of my favorite movies, even though it was completely historically rearranged, is the Ten Commandments, where Moses goes up to the mountain and you hear this voice barreling down, Moses. You always hear this. So this is what I'm saying. Like we have all this stuff. And even in the Bible, you have a lot of imagery. You have the dove flying around, you know, that could be God. You have the prophets in the Old Testament. They are representative of God speaking to a group of people, and then they turn around and relay messages to the people, you know, um, i.e., our modern day preachers, pastors, Catholic priests, whatever you want to call it, spiritualists, psychics, whatever you want to call it. So there's a lot of communication going on between the God figure and us in our culture. It's
Right.
all out here. So that's why this was a great topic anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and then on the flip side of that is those who maybe don't practice a religion and don't really follow that or, pay attention to that. Does that therefore mean then you're not, how do you experience God then, right? Does it have to be
Yeah.
tied to some kind of organization? Does it have to be, and I think that because a lot of times we feel like it does, then when we talk about atheist or we talk about agnostic or not being, believers or what have you, it's this concept of how the God energy really interacts with us. Um, if we keep relegating it to religion or relegating to a certain faith, then I think it's very easy to see why people have a hard time connecting with a God because, if it's only that way. So we've got some questions. We got some questions. And I think that we always review. I come up with them and Barry lets me know, yeah, 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 or no, no, no. And I do get, listen, I'm gonna be completely honest. AI be helping us out a little bit. Like, what kind of questions are people really asking in the world? Because that's AI is pulling things from the world. So it's a nice way of getting
Well,
kind of a preview to what. Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry, to
absolutely.
what people are wanting to hear from. Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. AI be knowing.
AI be knowing. AI
AI,
be
AI be
AIB
knowing.
knowing. Oh, I like that. That might need to be the
AI
name
be
of a
knowing.
course. AIB knowing. Okay, here's the first question. First question. In what ways do you think God communicates with people? How does God communicate with people? In
In
what
what
ways?
ways?
Mhm.
Um, well, okay. I have to, I gotta
I
get
was just saying we
technical for a
only
second.
got 20 more minutes and then we got to shift gears. Okay, so
Real
we're gonna
quick.
be
So real quick. In the
it's
if
okay.
we're understanding the God concept, you're coming, I am coming from my worldview, my perspective, that there is a protocol, um, and um, we have to follow the chain of, sort of like the chain of command, without putting it, using that kind of analogy. There is a chain of command. So I feel that there is kind of both, and I think that our ancestors are in there, that we can speak to our ancestors and then our ancestors intervene, and then it goes back to our ancestors and then our ancestors can speak to us. I also believe that we can directly speak to the God power, the God concept, the higher self. I think that when we are communicating with this higher intelligence, this higher consciousness, I do think that we are in actuality communicating with our higher self. The reason I believe that is that in my framework, because I operate out of a framework, the ultimate creator being consciousness, it's there's no there has to be some protocol for us to understand and get that information. That concept is our higher self because that higher self is actually connected to us, literally connected to us. So that's the first thing. Now, how does that actually happen? You have so in my estimation, you have to set up your own personal protocols. Like you have to know your life. You have to know how, in other words, you have to set up a relationship. You have to set up a protocol within your life. We can't even do this Zoom call, unless there's some equipment in the building. You have to have a router, you have to have the equipment for it. It has to be configured. Everything has to be lined up. It's very, very similar to that. It's
Mm,
very, very, in my opinion. So
mm.
once you have all that set up, then you can begin to understand, like, well, God talks to me in this kind of way. He's sending me, or she's sending me information about this, and this. Okay. Now, how do you know that? Well, how I feel. I ask God, I need a new job. Can I get a new job? Will you send me a new job? Am I able to get a new job? And then you then have to do something. You have to either be doing interviews, you have to be looking for, and then you operate basically on,
And this is right? This is your experience. I just want to say that,
well,
right?
this is my experience, but this could be the experience of a lot of other people,
Okay, okay,
because,
okay.
and it's just one way. It's just one way. You said, how does God communicate to us? There's no one way. Is probably
Right,
the short answer. It could
right,
be
right,
100,000
right,
different ways. It just
right.
depends on the protocol that you set up. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So I'll just say
yeah.
that.
Well, I think
It just
I
it
hear
de-
you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I
No,
hear
go ahead.
you. I That seemed complicated though. I'm going to be honest. Listening, I'm
It's not
following you. I No,
it's
no, no.
not complicated in the sense that you have to, in other words, so if you're a mother, you're a mother. Any mother knows what their baby is saying, even though their baby cannot talk. Any
But as a mother, let me say no, we don't a lot of times, which
You
can be
don't a
very
lot of times,
frustrating. Yeah, which can be
right?
very frustrating.
But you do know a lot of times. You do know what the baby's saying. So that means that's very similar to how God communicates to us. A lot of times we know, but how you know what your baby is saying is that you spend time with your baby. You kind of know your baby. um and then sometimes, like you said, sometimes it's like, I don't know why you keep crying. Like, I don't know what you want. You want some food? You don't want no food. You want to go to sleep? You don't want to go to sleep. You want your toy? You don't want your toy. Okay, what is it? I don't know. And there's a, you have to give space in the God human relationship, that you sometimes you're just not going to know what's being said. You're not going to understand. That's just what it is. You're going to get it confused. You're going to think, well, I thought God told me, felt the Lord speaking to me, and then you like, no, that's not what he said. That's not what she said. You know what I'm saying?
Mm, mm. So, I mean, usually we're on the same page in this. I do know what you're saying. I actually absolutely do know. I don't know though. I think the key thing of what you said, which I'm wanting to highlight, is that it's different for everyone and it varies. And I think that's why I was asking you, is this a I statement? Or because I think, saying protocol and you have to have a certain protocol, like I get that, and I actually believe that. I think that not everyone understands what we mean by protocol though, like in what, and
So
I'm
let me
just
break that
speaking
down.
for that person.
Let
Yeah,
me
I'm
break
speaking
the
for a person
protocol.
who may
The
not know that.
protocol is just really means when you're talking to another person, there's a way that you talk to that person, right?
Okay. Mhm.
Everybody that you're talking to, there's a
Correct.
way. Say like say you just meet someone and you guys communicate.
Correct.
A lot in this modern era, people are like, well, do you like phone calls or do you like texting or do you like emails? That's the protocol. It's like, what's the best way to communicate with you?
Right.
You know,
Right.
and
Right.
that's it's as simple as that. It's when you're when you're and the thing is, how many times this has happened in my life, this has happened in your life because I know you a little bit. How many times has the higher the God trying to get in touch with us, trying to place a call to us, and we're just kind of like clueless. We're not
Right.
getting the information. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Um, so the when I say protocol, it's a way to understand the best way to communicate,
Yeah,
and it
no.
changes. It's no one thing. It changes. It's always being refined. It's always being elevated to so that you can understand and get the information that you're trying to get from God better and easier. We didn't even, we haven't talked about like divination and all that kind of stuff, but
Whew.
that's a whole
This
other
is I
conversation.
it's yeah, it is. It's interesting because I think the more I was listening to you, the more I realized how complicated this really is.
Yeah,
And yet it's complicated yet simple, which is so much about. I feel like that is the mantra, that's the motto for spirituality. It's complicated but
it's
simple,
it's simply it's simply complicated.
Right.
It's
It's
simply
because
simply
I
complicated.
think, but this is such an important, this is to me probably one of the most important things for those of us, those of you who are wanting to shift or wanting to grow or wanting to deepen your spiritual journey, or wanting just to have a better life, or wanting to just experience relationships a certain way, wanting to experience your career a certain way. That if in fact you want to experience the richness of these things on earth as a human, your ability to have this relationship. And I think that when you were talking about the baby, I'm going to bring the baby back in, because the ability, you don't just plop a baby and a mother knows. And I think a lot of people may assume that there is a lot that you have to learn as a mother. You're learning your baby, you're learning the cues, you're learning, you read all the textbooks, you're reading all the magazines. And I know for me, my first baby didn't do nothing the textbook said. So here I was like, well, this baby don't, like, I don't know this baby. I can't do this. And it was
Who is this
really,
baby?
who is this
I don't even know
baby?
you. This
I
ain't my
don't know
baby.
you because I'm feeding you, I'm doing all the things and you still cried and we just laugh. And I think that that can happen in our relationships with God, because it will be, I'm being obedient, I'm reading the scriptures, I'm attending the church, I'm loving my neighbor, I'm being respectful, I'm taking care of myself, and I'm still not having the experiences. And I'm sitting and I'm listening, I'm thinking I'm listening to God tell me the things, but my life isn't necessarily evidence of that, or my life is evidence for that on my basic needs and I'm grateful for them, but those things that are really questionable in my life, I'm having a hard time hearing from God, right? So I think learning, building that relationship and learning for you how God speaks to you specifically, to your point, yes. Is it by, what is that method? And I typically tell people God is always God. I call it God universe because I do think of God as energy and as a collective. And so I've learned from myself, and this wasn't always the case. It's just as I grow, as I learn, is that God meets me where I'm at, right? So if I'm not open to certain things, God's not trying to meet me there. I do feel like God speaks to us where we are and where we can actually receive. Go ahead. Yeah. Mhm.
So I have to, this is spiritual shift. So I'm gonna bring it. I'm gonna keep it 10,000. So my personal practice, and this is what I teach, is that when we pray, we are talking to God. When we meditate,
We hear God.
we hear God.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Mhm.
We And this is why the God concept is so important. So if and even in my language, as we're talking about this, I'm talking about God and hearing from God and all this, and that does exist, but going inside, we get to hear God. But to me, that's a major way to hear God is to go inside and to still yourself, to close all of your eyes, your mouth, like, and just sit in silence and just listen.
Mm,
And then because part of our belief is that God is within as well. God is within, God is without. So you can hear God either way. It just depends on the protocol that you set up, how you
right.
set it up.
Right. No, I think what you just said is the is, and that's going to set us up for the next question. Because if you're, it's one thing that you're communicating to God, but the ability to actually listen and to listen so that you know that it's God and maybe not ego or yourself or this other thing that you want it to be. And I think that's where it gets kind of tricky. So, this is my next question. How do you know if what you're hearing or real or feeling in these meditations is really from God? How do you know that you know, for you? And then I'll maybe say how I know, because there is that I do have a protocol
Yeah.
for
I
how I
can
can
lay that.
kind of feel, yeah, if that's higher
Like, how do
self,
I know?
God. Yeah.
Um, so that's the to bring the baby back in. Let's bring the baby
Let's
back
bring the
in.
baby. How do we know what the baby needs?
So I was jokingly saying, like, do you want this? Do you want this? Like, do you want this? Do you want this? Like, is it this? And then the baby still crying. Ah! That's my process. It's like, I want this. I need to move here. I need to do the. So is this the right way? So I'm going to test it. You know,
Mm,
how do I know if what I'm hearing is the right thing? I'm heavy. I do. I'm a proponent of divination.
what does
A
divination
variety.
mean? What does
Okay, yeah, you're right,
divination
right.
mean?
So
Mhm.
divination is let me see if I can just keep it like a simple kind of concept. It's really a way to, like, I don't want to use the word hack. That's not like a negative word, but it's the way to kind of peek into the spiritual realm, um, to get at an answer or get at some information that you're wanting. It's a variety of ways to do it. Like when you hear people say, "Oh, I had a reading," or "I went to such and such a person to get a reading," that's really one aspect of divination. There's so many different ways to get a glimpse into the spiritual realm or dimension to get information, because everything really starts in the spiritual world dimension and comes into the physical. So when I'm looking for answers, when I'm working on things, I go into that world so that I can get answers, and then I bring it back into the physical world. So that's how I do it. Praying also um, is how I speak, and then I also am a heavy meditator. I meditate so that I can listen to things. So that's the
Mm,
short answer.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think my process, I mean, I definitely pray, to God and I again, I call it, and my niece kind of started me on this, calling it the collective, because I'm looking at energy from God, ancestors, spirit guides, guardian angels, universe,
All of that.
nature, all of that. So
All of
my
that.
prayers, it wasn't always like that. I used to definitely in my 20, really prior to my 40s, it was more about oh, you about to say something? Were you
As I
about
say, I don't want to cut your conversation, but I want you to talk about your lights and your blinking. You got to talk
Oh
about that for a
yeah, I'm
second.
gonna get
That's
I'll
the
get it. Yeah, I'll get it to it.
how you know. That's
So
the question is how do you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I used to talk, just by prayer. And after I did my spiritual retreat in 2009, that the way that I practiced my spiritual, to me, that's when I literally, like, that was my rebirth. That was my born again. That was my saved time. Because I began to have a new kind of relationship, a deeper relationship with spirit and my higher self. So for me, initially, yeah, it was more of prayer. And you and I say this a lot, follow the breadcrumbs. One of the things that I have learned in my spiritual walk, and again, this is in I statements, is that for me, I've realized how powerful I am, and not because of my human. I've realized how powerful I am because of what God and collective gives me and really gives all of us. And I've learned, because like your point, I started testing it out. I started like, okay, I'm reading, I'm hearing about, if I say these things, if I follow whatever this gut feeling that I get inside, just, if I follow it, if it's of something that's a more patient energy and I follow it, typically something better happens. And it just kept happening. The moment I would, so if an opportunity would come my way, instead of go, my ego would be afraid. And this is how I can differentiate if it's God or something else talking. If there is a lot of fear, I know that's ego. And I use ego as human. So for people who, ego is necessary, we are humans. But I know that's not God talking to me. That is me attempting to protect myself for whatever reason. So this is why when you hear people say, go towards the fear, do it afraid. Excuse me. This is really important, because the fear often is your ego or your human self trying to protect you from the wounds, from the trauma, from all the conditions that the ego has learned to do. But the soul, God, spirit, higher self, it is what it is. And so those feelings where, if I start feeling afraid, I'm like, let that go, and let's just sit with truth. And for me, it is a literal, like, either like a word or an immediate. It's very like, get that this. It's very, do this. And when it does it, there's not a bunch of, oh, but it's not like that. It's like, get this. And I might be like, well, okay. And sometimes, to what Barry was asking me about the lights flickering, what I've learned now in this practice, as I've been moving on and widening and deepening this relationship with God and calling in my ancestors. And honestly, for me, this is once my father died, because could feel him. Various things were just happening. And I'm like, this is not just happening. Like, I'm not crazy. I'm watching things, bottles pop off. I'm finding, the lights flickering. Absolutely. And I have learned that, because the other realm that you mentioned of is about energy, that when energetically that realm is wanting to come to me, it has to work through whatever energy in this human space that I can see and receive. hence the light flickering, because that energy, it can utilize that energy. If my TV or the computer does something, or a bell chimes or whatever, it's like it's energy. And so it's gotten to the point now where I've made an agreement, and this is the less little thing I want to say about this, is I, in my relationship and my protocol, I have decided, I have learned, when I make an agreement to receiving the thing that I am asking questions for, that's my way of giving permission for the universe and for God to show it to me in a certain way. So sometimes I get afraid to make the agreement because I'm like, am I ready? Am I ready to hear the truth of what God is going to say to me? Because with that means responsibility. Because I don't want to hear the thing, know the thing, and then not do the thing, because now that starts a whole other thing. So I'm learning how to, when I'm asking for something, then to agree to actually receive it. And so this is the relationship I'm at now with God, is, and you know this because you're with me, and I'm, in the process of doing something right now that I can't make public, but it is requiring a lot of my soul and my spirit to, because the piece of paper, if you put this out on paper, it don't add up, it don't make sense, it doesn't. But my soul, my spirit, what God, I hear God saying to me, no, the collective, you're going this way. And I'm like, y'all serious? Because I can't make the math is not mathing for me, but something deep in me. And so, and I can feel that. And so I've learned to, yes, pray, then meditate to receive, follow the breadcrumbs, these little things that happen that are inconspicuous, that you're like, oh, that's interesting. That's ironic that that person happens to be blah, blah, blah. No, it ain't. It's not ironic. It is divine. It is what the process is. I've learned to also incorporate, obviously, astrology is a lot about, so I can understand who I am better, the areas that I need to work on, that I'm not blocking, that I need to grow, that what my tendencies are, so that I can actually hear what God and universe is really trying to tell me, and that I don't allow my ego to run with it. And I'm not, obviously this is a practice. So does that make sense? Am I, Barry,
Yeah,
does that?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you're hitting the nail, right on the head as well. The only thing I would kind of put up with that is you have to, not you, but
Right. Yeah.
we have to move. You one thing that people tend to do is like they're asking for something, they're trying to get an answer, whatever, and then they aren't moving. You have to move in a direction. You have to take action on something so that you can test it out. You can test the communication out to see, you know, we're
You
waiting for some
gotta,
voice to go, don't do that, do
and
that,
the,
go
and
here,
that's
make a
the
left down the
that's
street.
the faith without acts,
No,
right? That's the faith with the
that's
faith,
not really
having
gonna
faith
work.
without
Yeah.
act. But that's that
Yeah.
whole, you can't just have faith without acting. And I think to get
Without
from,
action. Right.
yes, I think to get to the action, and this is super important. This is something that I had to really sit with myself. When God is in universe and ancestors and everybody's flickering lights, and I'm listening, and I'm like, okay, I believe it. I believe it. I see it. All right. I hear y'all. I now have to trust it. And this for me, we just did a workshop. We literally just came from a workshop, and the card that was pulled for me was trust. This is the thing that I'm working on, is I will know a lot of stuff. I will feel, Barry knows, I be feeling stuff all day. I can read, I be like, yep, this is about to be this, but I won't trust it sometimes. So then that can interfere with my action, right? You have to fully activate, you have to trust that in fact this is the assignment. You can't just be told this is the assignment and believe it. I know we were told that. You have to then trust that in fact that's the truth, so that you will act, because it's very difficult to act based on just belief. Because belief is for a lot of people, belief is the action. It's okay, I believe it. But there's
Right.
another step that has to happen. And to really activate and to expand, you have to trust that what that thing is that you believe in is going to give you not only what you need but more, so that you will really, really activate. And then it gets real complicated from there, Barry, because what we just did in our workshop with Sister Shaman, all those conditions that have been placed on us from childhood, all those things that we have learned to believe that are not true, but we believe them, or we did it to protect ourselves, to survive, right, to live, so that we could gain whatever we needed to gain. But then in our adulthood, being able to hear God and not let the conditioning that's been placed on us to interfere with what God is speaking to us, that's huge.
Absolutely.
That's a really
Absolutely.
huge. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have to not let, because this is just a belief. This is just a belief that I have. I think we know a lot of things to do. It's a lot of times like we be waiting for an answer for something, and we'll get the answer, but then we won't move or take action because of fear, like you were saying, like, or it's not really what we wanted. It's not our ego. It's like, well, I don't really want that. I'm still waiting on
Right.
the Lord. It's like, no, the Lord already told you what to do. He already sent everything that you need to do what it is. It's like, well, I don't
Yep.
want to do that. Okay. Well,
Okay.
I
And
don't
there's
really
that
know.
free will.
You know,
That's when that free
you
will
know
pops up.
that the classic story is when the guy's on the roof and it's storming. You know that story, and the floods are
With the
coming
boat?
up, and
Yeah.
a boat comes, and then another something a helicopter comes. He's like, Lord, I saw you. I was praying for you. It's like, dude, I sent you three things. Like, what are you doing? So it's something like that.
And that's really real. That's really real. I mean, and
That's
and I
super
think if
real
we're
right
all
there.
honest, it's if you can always remember that story, so that you can remember then who are the people in your lives, what are the events that are happening in your lives that are attempting to usher you to that thing. And this is what I mean by the breadcrumbs. For me, the breadcrumbs are that boat and that helicopter and that thing that's being sent. It's not always the thing, but the breadcrumb is trying to lead me and reveal the thing. So if I don't go for the breadcrumb, if I don't do the little drabbles, I'm cutting myself off from the opportunity to experience the thing. And for me to get to the point where I was willing to follow the breadcrumbs, I had to do a lot of personal work, and I continue to do a lot of work to shed these conditions, And right now I'm doing this work of feeling like being too much. So that's like a barrier for me. Well, if I do that, that's just too much. That's just too much, right? So learning how to trust that it's not too much. And so what if it is? Like, okay, let's say it is. Okay, and okay, I guess, and that's hard. That's hard. I hear God speaking. It's clear as a bell. I mean, I feel it. I see the opportunities coming. I get the desires. I get the visions, but I also have the ego that is attempting to protect me, I guess, that, like, because of all the conditioning, because I still want to be loved. I still want to be accepted. I still want to be like people. I don't want to be judged. You know what I mean?
Right, right, absolutely. All
All right.
right,
Okay.
we're
So
at
we're at our
30.
40 minutes. Yeah. So we're going to ask one more question. But before we do, Barry, well, let's do this. If you have a topic, hold on. Oh, there it is. Scrolling. If you have a topic, oh, that's the Bali retreat. I don't want y'all to come to the Bali retreat. Although if you want to come to the Bali retreat, you can, but that wasn't the right thing. Can you tell them about our community on Patreon in case people want to have these conversations a little bit deeper?
Yeah,
And I'll put it in
yeah. So
the scroll.
and the thing, yeah.
Oh
So
no,
we
no,
have
I'm
a.
sorry. Can you talk about your course? Or do you want to talk about the
Oh,
community? Which one?
I may try to tie it in together.
Okay.
So yeah. So I'm launching a course in the other side of the year, maybe the January 2025, called Beyond Belief, Faith Reimagined. It's a 4-session course, and it's really helping people go deeper into their spiritual walk, their spiritual journey. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian, Muslim, if you're Jewish, doesn't matter. If you don't have a particular faith or religion, it's really helping us go beyond belief. Um, Whatever it is that you believe, but we're going to go beyond that so that we can go deeper into spiritual practices, spiritual understandings, and what the spiritual path is all about, transformation and evolution, so that we can be really become more um, divine people while we're here on earth, as well as like we're here to do something. We're here to transform ourselves into these amazing beings so that we can transform, our communities, everyone around. So that's what
Yeah.
Beyond Belief is about. Faith Reimagined. It's a 4 session course. I'm excited about it. It's going to be amazing. It's my journey. It's the journey that I've been on for the last 25 years. I'm kind of crunching it all into like 4 sessions, and you guys will be able you guys will be able to benefit from that.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
so if you, the other thing is our Patreon. It's a free membership if you want to kind of get involved with what we're doing, building a community around people that really have a heart and a desire for spiritual growth and spiritual evolution, and want to be in relationship with other people like that are serious about it, not judgmental, not trying to preach and proselytize. No, it's just really a group of people that really are about their own spiritual growth, spiritual evolution, and service to one another. That's really what it's about.
I
So
love it. I love it.
Patreon, what's the what's
Yeah,
the
it's
is it patreon.com/, um
spiritual
spiritual
shift.
shift? Yeah,
Yep,
that's what it
yep,
is.
yep. So
And
if you go there, yep, if you go to patreon.com/spiritual shift, you should see if you scroll the page, you can sign up for free. You do not, I know Patreon sometimes has tiers where you can, be a paid member. We do have a level for that, but right now we're really just focusing on the free membership. So ultimately, once we are building that up, we'll be doing newsletters, we'll be doing Zooms. So it'll be off of YouTube so that you can talk and talk about your own experience and be able to be in community. Also, if you go though to patreon.com/spiritual shift, you'll see there should be a link where you can complete that wait list. So when we open up registration for Barry's class or a 4 session course, you'll get alerted so that you can sign up for it. So those are our big things that we just like to always include when we come on here. And before we wrap up, I did have one little last question, but we're at our 45-minute mark. Maybe if you can God speak to us through everyday little things? Like, what are your thoughts about
oh,
God speaking to us through little things?
absolutely. I mean, I think that is one of the biggest ways that God can speak to us, and again, it's the God consciousness, the higher being God, as well as our higher self, little g God. They're all in cahoots. You know what I'm saying? They're in cahoots with each other. They're in
Yeah,
cahoots to help us become, you know,
yeah.
evolve in higher being. So yeah, it could be. I'm talking about anything. I mean, a lot of people talk about angel numbers. You know, so how many of you all are seeing numbers all the time, every day, all day? You know what I'm saying? It could be a commercial on TV. It could be a YouTube commercial. It could be a dog. It could be literally. It could be a little ladybug because it just
A
sits on your shoulder.
ladybug.
It could
Yeah.
be anything,
Animals
but
are
it's
big messengers. Yeah.
yeah. It could be a little
Yeah.
bird. The cubs that just sits on your little porch. it could, it all depends on how you have configured your communication. Oh, my mama loved birds. That's my mama's bird right there. It
Right,
just
right.
came. It just sat on my thing, and that's why, you know. So,
Yeah,
what does that mean for you? Like, what does that mean for you? You
yeah,
know,
yeah. No, absolutely. And I wanna
like let me
the
just say,
bird. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
like your the song that you were saying, like your dad, one of your dad's favorite songs. Um, it was something that was happening, and then that song came on. You were like, "Oh my God, that's my daddy right there."
It happens all
So
the
just like
time.
that.
And I can literally it's at the point now where the relationship I have with him on this other in this other realm, I literally can instantly say, "Okay, daddy, show me." And I have our protocol is if I see 11s, 111, I know that's his way of like, I got you. I will, but I can be, it can be as much as I remember this just happened. I want to say this happened on his birthday, Earth Day. Um, the day, it's that's a whole nother story. Barry and I actually met on my dad's birthday. So that's kind of weird. I mean, well, we had one of our first conversations. It was our very first full conversation. So that day is a very interesting day for me. But I remember this particular August 6th, I didn't feel like I felt him as much. And so I was getting a little kind of concerned. And so all I did, I closed my eyes and I said, okay, daddy, just, show me, reveal to me you're here. And and this is how this works for me. Maybe you all can, this resonates. It'll be the first thing that came in my head was Spotify. I was like, okay, Spotify. So I got my phone, I got on Spotify, and I could hear his voice, like just scroll. And the first thing I scrolled down to, my father was a drummer. And so the first image was this drummer named Yusef Dawes, and he had released this new song, and it was just like this drum solo that just opened up, and I was like, "Oh my god!" So I played it, and like, and I'm just like, so it was just like a resounding, and all I did was call on it. And I'm not saying that that will be your experience, but this is to your point when you're saying protocol, which is why I wanted you to explain that. I have made this agreement with my dad, and I have asked him, listen, for when I need you and when I need confirmation, what I need to be able to call on you, just show me so I'll know. And so, yes, that song, when we did his ashes ceremony, we did a barbecue because my dad was really big into barbecues. And we did a barbecue. And my uncle at that time, who's now also transitioned, but he kind of gave a prayer and said some words about my dad and said the grace before we were going to eat. And so as soon as he finished, then someone turned the music back on, and it was Grover Washington, which is Mr. Magic, which is my dad's, was his song. That was the song that instantly came on. And so it's just so like, magical, and feels so like, oh my gosh, like this person is still with me. Yeah, so that was that. But so it speaks in all kinds of ways. All right. Well, Barry, I think that that's it for Will. So we're taking a break next week, but we'll be back the first Sunday in November. We'll be
New
exploring a whole
topic.
new topic.
The God concept is wrapped up for now. We may come back. We may double back.
May come
But
back.
yeah.
We may double back. I will say if you have questions or anything, you guys can email us at spiritualshift33@gmail.com. Again, we're just beginning this community, so it's just a Gmail. I also will say if you're interested in, I never talk about this, but I might as well toot it a little bit, promote a little bit. If you are curious more about astrology, I do astrology guidance readings as well. So you can always email that and I can give you more information how, if you wanted to just figure out a little bit more about yourself in a different way, in a more alternative way, using the stars, using nature, using the elements, then I can do that. So just email. All right. That is it. You guys have an amazing Sunday. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks. All right.
All
And
right. Be good.
peace. Love you.
Love
All
you.
right.
Bye.
Bye.